Hey everyone, welcome to another amazing episode of the Orita Podcast. I'm Aaron Schwartz, one of the founders of Orita. We do AI customer segmentation for a bunch of brands. We also get to partner with amazing agencies like Avex and John Surdakowski, which I feel pretty good about how I pronounce your last name, but I'll let you overrule that in a second. I've known John for an extremely long time. He definitely has only been sold by me, so doesn't really know me that well and just finds me probably slightly annoying, and that's fine, man. We'll work through this in our session right now. But John, truly a pleasure to have you here. Would love for you to do a proper intro of yourself, of Avex, and then I'll jump in with 50 follow-on questions.
Yeah. So, one, you definitely have never annoyed me. I just know you as the tall guy that I see. Well, most people are taller because I'm not that tall. So you're the guy I see at events and known you for quite a while. So really excited about this. You had my last name, I would say 9.5 out of 10. That was pretty close, probably better than I have done before. But my name is John Surdakowski. I'm the founder and CEO at Avex. We are a digital agency that focuses on helping Shopify brands to design, build, and optimize. We work very closely with mid-market through enterprise brands on various types of services, really to help them get the most out of their Shopify platform.
Like, what is the sweet spot today? Who are the brands who should come and talk to you? Like, what are the problems they're having? You say mid-market, but like, what does that mean?
Yeah, typically we work with mid-market brands. Mid-market to enterprise is kind of our sweet spot. I know in the Shopify world that could have a lot of different definitions. So we try not to look at really the size of the brand. It's really where they are in their phase, right? Where they're growing. We tend to work with brands who have already passed the, maybe 10 or $25 million mark, who are a little bit more higher growth. They're looking for that next stage, or they've already grown and they're looking for support around engineering, stabilization, conversion rate optimization, retention marketing, and even creative direction and user experience. So really ways that we could help the on-site experience convert much better, make them look better, make them function better, provide stabilization if their tech stack isn't supporting their needs, and also help them retain customers. That's really what we do. The things that we don't do as much are we don't help you acquire customers. So we're not on the marketing side. And we leave that to the much larger, big marketing agencies who specialize in that and have done that time and time again. Where we focus is the on-site experience, specifically Shopify Plus. But we've worked with a lot of other brands off Shopify too. So we work with brands like Hugo Boss and LVMH and Calvin Klein on various creative projects and retention projects, things like that. But yeah, we work with a lot of really great brands. It's just fun doing it.
Thanks for the breath. It's funny. I always like diving into what you don't do. So let me actually start there. When there's a brand who's looking for something, you don't do it. Is it you're bringing in other agencies? Is it you're trying to find like different tech solutions, or like what are the scenarios?
It depends. It depends. Especially when we were smaller and I was starting out, I would do everything. We did everything. We wouldn't say no to anything, but we learned our lessons and we know what we do really well. But it does depend on the ask, right? In some cases, we may have the knowledge of it. We may know what the strategy is and we may know what the solution is, but we might not have the hands to keyboard team members full time who do that every day. So we may partner with a contractor, a trusted source or consultant that we could bring on and add value to the engagement, especially if it's part of like our existing account list. We want to make sure that we're servicing our existing accounts. And in other cases, we may work with partner agencies that specialize in things that we don't do, especially on like the marketing side. So the paid media side, we have a few select partners that we'll bring on who don't have much crossover with our services, and even some that do, because we trust them, they trust us, and we're not looking to poach each other's accounts. But we'll bring on some partners who we really trust to do something that's going to really add value to those accounts.
I've always thought about you guys as like one of the premier Shopify agencies, and obviously you mentioned that, but you did talk about Hugo Boss and others off platform. Is some of the work there bringing folks onto Shopify, or is it much more like, hey, they've got their e-commerce is working how they want to, but it's truly like that creative side, or like a little bit on the retention side where you guys will focus?
Yeah, so it really depends. I mean, of course, we're open to working with some of the enterprise brands that we do partner with on the creative and retention side or strategy side. If they're a good fit and there's a need, we'd love to bring them over to Shopify. I wouldn't say that that's like the hard pitch or what we're trying to do. First and foremost, we're a commerce agency. We work with brands to help them in various different ways to sell more product, to have a better customer experience. And that doesn't always have to be on Shopify, but we like to say that we are design agnostic and platform specific, right? So the platform that we develop on and we launch brands on and help optimize, that's Shopify. But there's other services that we have, especially around user experience and conversion rate optimization and retention, that are kind of like Shopify adjacent. They might not be on Shopify, but we can work with them on other platforms, and we do. So it allows us to have a little bit of a broader reach. But ultimately, of course, I would say 95% of our business, if not more, is Shopify work, especially design and build.
Heard. I want to double click on the design side because a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, it makes sense, right? You run a brand, you're 25 million, 50 million. Hey guys, we want to grow. Great. I was referred to John. I was referred to Avex, and they're going to help me with my CRO. They're going to help me with my user experience. If you think about this from the brand side, what is the indication to the brand that they're actually ready to work with somebody like you? Is it, hey, look, it's not just the head of e-commerce, but also the CFO is bought in and the merchandising team, or like who needs to be there from a like roles from the brand for it to go well? And what is kind of the attitude that they need to have if they're really going through kind of like a transformation project with you?
Yeah, having the business layer buy-in is always important. Understanding that we're not just doing this to make the site look better. We're doing it for a business reason, that there's an ROI attached to it. And that's the approach we typically take, especially when we're talking about user experience and conversion rate optimization. These are things that have an ROI. Retention marketing, these are things that you could have direct attribution to a conversion uplift or AOV or customer lifetime value. It's important that not only are the decision makers involved in the decision, but that they're bought in that this is a business motion and that we're not just designing things for the sake of redesigning them because someone thought that the site looks outdated, is that we're solving a real business problem. So I don't think there's a specific title. I would say that it's very different. Most of the brands that we work with, it's not always the CFO, it's not always the CMO. Sometimes it's an e-com manager who's leading the charge. Sometimes it's the CEO who's heavily involved. So it really depends on the size of the business. Some of the brands that we work with are so massive and global, not all of them, but some, that we have no access to C-suite in that case, right? Some of the brands have thousands of employees, and we might be dealing with the marketing team who's based in New York, who has a decision maker there. And it's, not even a CMO. It could be like a VP, or it might be a director level. It's just important that whomever the decision maker is that we know what the KPIs that we're aiming for and what the ROI they're expecting, so we can make sure to deliver. So we're not just focused on just the output of the deliverables or like the amount of hours that are going into it. We're focusing on the outcome, right? What's the outcome and how is that tied to a business need? So the closer we align with the decision makers at the brand on that, the better the overall outcome of the project.
I love it. It's funny. It's a framing that, I know from going back 15 years and running my own site, which is like, the goal is not to get somebody to click. The goal is ultimately to get somebody to purchase and to love the product. And so like you can go drive a click, but if the ultimate conversion rate is much lower, that hasn't actually solved the problem. We think about this a lot with Orita and some of the products that we're building now is like, we build really good algorithms and they work, but DB and I, right, my co-founder and I spent an hour this morning talking about a new product we have, which is a campaign planner, which has nothing to do with like the algorithm side. It's just like helping the brand achieve whatever their goal is. Hey, we want to increase email revenue by 30% this month. Great. We'll show you the realm of what's possible or not. And I think we are officially at that point of like transitioning much more to being like not technicians, but truly outcome oriented. It is, but it's the right journey.
I think you brought up a good point, especially about revenue, right? Because I could drive your conversion rate up like crazy by cutting off your paid media and only having organic traffic to the site. Conversion rate might quadruple, but your revenue is going to go down and so is your profit. So it's important that we're looking at that actual ROI.
So you guys will come in when you're thinking about kind of the CRO or the performance and you're working with such advanced brands. I imagine most of them have some omnichannel presence as well, whether it's their own stores or their wholesale or even thinking about, digital like Amazon or whatnot. Where do you guys play in that regard?
Yeah. So unified commerce is what every merchant needs and wants. So it's something that, you have to deliver. You have to look at all aspects of it. Of course, you could be very niche and say, hey, we just focus on X, right? There's some agencies that are just B2B and some that are just D2C or just point of sale. I think that's important too, to have those specialized services. But for the brands that we work with, they definitely expect more of that omni-channel. Not all of them, but some, right? We're starting to get more and more into point of sale and retail, but we work with a lot of B2B clients as well. Some of our clients are using us for D2C and B2B on Shopify. Some of them are just introducing it and we're working with them there. And others, are exploring it, or maybe they need us to, we're working with one customer now that's been on Shopify D2C for the longest time, and they've been on another platform for B2B, and they're looking to migrate that and unify that experience. So that's one of the, value props of Shopify, that you could have all of that in one back end, manage all of your customers, manage your products, and deploy to multiple channels.
So we just got the invite to Editions, which I still call Shopify Unite, but I think much better should right.
Yeah.
Enough to remember when it was Shopify Unite. They roll out so much stuff, and they've changed their partner system recently and all the changes. But obviously, you want cutting edge technology. How are things built? What's the future of commerce? Like Shopify, is the place to be. How do you guys keep up with everything that's happening? And how do you help your customers who come to you are like, hey, heard about this AI tool, that AI tool, or this capability? Like,
Yeah.
how do you ground the conversation in focusing on the impact on the outcomes you talked about before?
So I like to put it into a few buckets of what's available today, what's going to be available in the very near future, and what might be a little bit of either noise or marketing that might take a little while. I'm old enough to remember Shopify Unite as well. And I remember when Sections Everywhere was announced at Shopify in Toronto, maybe 2018 or 19 or something. And it took some time to roll out. So I think it's important to understand that, look, Shopify is an organization that needs to be able to stay cutting edge. They need to be on top of these products. And when something is announced, we, of course, have our team look into it. We have solutions architects, and we have people on the technical side who want to make sure that we're up to date and when it's going to roll out. But I think it's important to level set with our clients about, hey, do you want to be the first ones to trial this? Do you want to see how it goes? What's real right now that we could start executing that's going to have an impact on your business? And what's something that was announced as something that's in the future? For example, when I think Shopify announced their collaboration with OpenAI a few months back, not the actual the commerce protocol that they recently announced, but before that, it was about discovery on AI, like submit your store to OpenAI to get discovered more, and there was a collaboration, but it wasn't fully launched yet. And some of the point of contacts of the brands that we work with, they were feeling pressure from their CEOs and CMOs and whomever to find out about this information. We need to hit up someone at Shopify or our agency, and there wasn't enough information out yet. It was just like a sign up page to be the first informed, right? So we want to level set with our clients and say, okay, well, this is something that should stay on your radar, and we're going to keep eyes on it. We're going to let you know when it's right to move forward with it. And there's other things to take action now on, right? And, we want to make sure that it's going to have an impact on their business and that it's going to move them forward, and it's not just some kind of noise and fluff. And that's what we're really good at, is being that kind of barrier there, and being that layer of accountability and trust to make sure that we're properly vetting whatever tools, whether it's from Shopify or any other partner.
Yeah, I hear you very much. My framework for figuring out if something is real or not is to talk to the sales team at the company. We were at, Orita is integrated with Klaviyo Postpilot, but in Spirit, we'll integrate everywhere. We just love the ecosystem, and we're hyper-focused, right? But we are in the sandbox for Braze, Iterable, Attendant, you name it. And I was at one of their conferences a couple of years ago or a year ago talking about some new AI tools. And that night I was at drinks with their team. It was, whatever. And I asked the longest tenured enterprise sales person, oh, are you selling this product? Immediate, absolutely not. I'll sell when there's something to say to our customers. But it was deeply we don't drive enough value with this yet. And so I think that your role of being able to help people kind of cut through the noise and figure out the signal is obviously crucial. When you think about the outcomes, obviously with AI and with personalization opportunities, and I'm not trying to lead the witness here, but capabilities have changed, or the speed with which you can deliver things has changed. Have the outcomes that the best brands are looking for from you guys change? Is it like, hey, yes, we want number to go up in a real way, but we also like want to be more personalized, or like have the pathways that people have been bringing to you and saying like, I really want to level up this part of the journey change in the last couple of years because of AI, or what's different now is maybe a different way to ask this.
The short answer is expectations have changed. I don't know if necessarily the outcome has changed. We're definitely seeing the expectation that we need to be more efficient and it needs to be done faster and more affordably. I think that's a big part of the expectation. I think some of that is noise from people who are on Twitter, who are hearing that a Claude bot is basically replacing their entire agency or company or their whole team, and that
John,
everything could be
every
done.
agency will be gone in 3 months. Haven't you read that?
Maybe less.
Yeah.
Maybe less. I'm actually looking for a new job tomorrow. Look, it's absolutely having an impact. I would say in the most positive way. Our developers are using it to be more efficient, to move faster. I'm personally using it. I was messing around with Claude Code the other day, and I spun up Terminal and VS Code and hooked it into Shopify, and I was able to deploy a theme in no time and start making changes. So things that maybe took 30 hours are taking 5 hours or less in some cases. I did something that would normally take a senior Shopify dev maybe 5 hours to do, did it in maybe 30 seconds. Now, is the code output exactly where we need it to be? And, I can't answer that. That's something that you still need to do code reviews. I wouldn't let it loose on doing everything. But yeah, we're absolutely finding efficiencies with it, not just for engineering, but for our project management team, for operations. There's ways that we're finding efficiencies so that we can be more cost effective with our clients' budgets and deliver faster for them. That's absolutely a goal. I don't think we're anywhere near scratching the surface yet of what it can do. Where I do see a lot of ways that we are leveraging AI for our clients in a real way is through the SaaS companies, through our SaaS partners. Now, a lot of people say, well, AI is going to kill SaaS. I think it's going to kill the bad SaaS, the ones that don't deliver value, the ones that could be easily replicated. But if you really think about it, I saw someone post the other day, someone a lot smarter than me, I hope, was talking about, like, realistically, let's just say SaaS is like 10% of your spend or something like that for a brand. Maybe it's far less, 10% of their revenue. It could be far less, it could be 1%. Are you really going to put massive amount of effort and build a team around trying to save a few percentage points on your overhead? Or are you going to put that effort towards things that are going to have a huge ROI? Right? You're not going to rip out a complete part of your tech stack and say, well, we're going to take a chance on this thing that was vibe coded yesterday just to save a small amount of money and then build a team around it and add that level of risk. Better off putting those resources into things that are actually going to show an ROI. So I think there's a lot of noise to cut through when it comes to AI right now. But when it comes to expectations, the expectation is, hey, we need to move faster. But that should always be the expectation, right? Move faster, deploy faster, do it effectively, do it efficiently, reduce risk. That's what an agency is there to do, and help brands, get to where they have to go as fast as possible.
We think a lot about exactly that. Again, it's so interesting thinking about the parallels from the agency side versus the SaaS side, right? And like, I started my career running a brand for a decade, so I'm like a charlatan at this point about what it means to run a brand, but I still have kind of that empathy from being the pain in the butt customer who'd be like, that's too expensive. Discount, let's go. I can't, it's my own money. But we talk a lot about what should be done in-house and what shouldn't be. To your point about 1% or 2% of spend, whatever it is, it's like, we think the internal resources should be deployed on stuff that like the brand itself has unique insight into. Merchandising, sure, because they understand their cash position and what they can do on the inventory side. But email segmentation or adopting the next new Shopify app, something, or like updating a theme, they see only their world and like their, like how they've interacted with the world. But you guys bring in this expertise of, you've seen hundreds of companies at this point, right? And you're able to help them get to the right answer a little bit faster. In the same way that we see 1,000 brands email strategy, we will definitionally be better because we've been able to model out across many, many, many more strategies than any individual brand, no matter how smart they are. Not at everything they do, but at like the little bits and pieces that we touch.
Yeah. And it's like, should they be spending their energy, resources, and effort on learning that and being, building Orita internally? Probably not, right? It's not the best use of time. Like you might as well,
Yeah.
work with the experts in that area.
Let's go into like some of the platforms and technology you use. Again, I'm thinking a lot about the personalization side of things. I just keep going back to it. I'm like,
Mhm.
what does that customer journey look like? Are there any cool software products that you're using? And this isn't you vouching for them or saying they're the best, but even like, are there tools that you've seen where you're like, oh yeah, this is intriguing, and I at the very least want our team to inspect it, whether it's like intra-platform, like Klaviyo AI, or like any specific tools or
Mhm.
something Attentive has?
Yeah, I mean, there's wow, there's a lot. We have a lot of partners. We work with a lot of tools. A few that stand out, like the tools that we're using on the CRO side for testing.
Mm.
Shoplift is a popular one that we like using for A/B tests. Visually is another one for both A/B testing and personalization. I would say like a lot of our customers are split between those two. It's definitely two products mm, that our merchants really like and our team likes to use. I'm really excited about, especially the personalization aspect of it. And that's where I think AI is going to shine a lot, is on the personalization side. You brought up Attentive as well. We're close partners with them. They have some really interesting AI tools that have been rolling out and are rolling out when it comes to like landing pages and better ways to have email deliverability and SMS and how those things play together. I think that there's others that are not even using AI to, or some are maybe are using it to build. Like Revo has been really popular amongst a lot of our brands. Really like that group over there. They move really fast. I think that's like one of the new ways that I think SaaS companies need to operate is, hey, how can we build really fast, get the features out that our clients are going to really want to use, make it affordable and have like a wide range of different products. But I think the key to that is like, how can we move fast? Because there's a lot of products out there that don't, or they need to cut through a lot of red tape to be able to deploy new features. And it might take months, if not years, to roll out
Mm.
because they're much bigger organizations or they're quote unquote legacy software. So I think we're going to start seeing more of those new, smaller SaaS companies come out that are just moving really fast and deploying product updates at like record speeds.
Well, one thing that I've seen on the return side is it feels like there's a lot of empire building, which is where returns, and oh, by the way, we're insurance, and oh, by the way, we're physical processing, and oh, by the way, right, it's adding. And we're now starting to see it on actually on the CRM side, which is like we're a de-anonymization tool that also will help you land in the inbox, that also will maybe touch your flows, that also will have
Mm.
a quote unquote agent. And it is, bundle, unbundle, bundle, unbundle is like always the path for bigger brands when they are buying software, right? Like the customers you guys are serving, like think like more the upper mid market or the enterprise guys. Are they excited in general about all-in-one solutions, even if each solution is like kind of subpar? Because hey, look, you already got through procurement, you're in. Please add this new feature, or are they leveraging the opportunity to be in Shopify and to get best in class kind of point solutions? Like where's the give and take on that?
Everyone's kind of different, to be honest. I wish there was like a definitive answer to that. But like, I would say that over the last couple of years, have been seeing more of a trend of consolidation. And I think that's natural. We're seeing more brands consolidate email and SMS. We're seeing more brands consolidate and saying, well, this product here drives X amount of revenue. And if we consolidate, we'll save, maybe on the other side of, when we consolidate, we're not getting as much control out of it, but it's worth it, right? So it really depends if they're in cost savings mode and the ROI from the consolidation is negligible, meaning like, hey, we don't need best in class for these three products. We could consolidate into three. The ROI is going to be somewhat similar, but the overhead costs are going to be significant and it's going to save, then they're going to do it. So I don't think that there's like a one answer, regardless of the size of brand. I think at the end of the day, what's going to move the needle forward and what's going to save money, right? If consolidation does that, great. If it doesn't, and you need best in class for all of them, we still see brands doing that all the time.
I'm going to ask another question where your answer is going to start with it depends. So let's skip past that. I bring you a $50, $100 million brand that's like obviously doing well, right? What are the likely couple of places to put pressure on today that they don't realize are high leverage? That maybe it's because it's just different now, because there's more tooling, or because the world is moving quicker, or because consumer sentiment has changed. Where you're like, oh, maybe it's like go omnichannel, or it's, hey, really deeply focus on personalization. Like as you're walking in, what are the couple of things that you think probably would drive the most impact for the brand?
So what we've seen more often than not is that even if a brand is growing, we're speaking to one right now, they're probably doing over 100 million. That happened pretty fast. They went from, a few million to over 50 really quickly. They caught on, and they either hit or exceeded 100 million just recently. And they're still using a duct tape together version of like the Palo Alto theme on Shopify. So in their case, stabilization and getting the tech stack in order, they're using so many different tech products. There's so much code bloat and like so many apps that they're using that we need to dig deep into that first, right? Can we salvage what they have, or can we move over to a more custom theme or something, even if it's something out of the box with Shopify, is it going to solve those needs? So sometimes the business gets really sophisticated and we need to introduce a lot of tools, or we need to have like retool the back end. And sometimes it's a matter of, hey, just the front end is a mess. And there's a lot of duct tape together nonsense that needs to be ripped out, and we need to improve it. So before we get into personalization and running A/B tests and really focusing on growth, they're already having organic growth. A lot of these brands, they've already scaled to a certain point. We need to look at the tech stack first. We need to look at what's causing performance issues, what's preventing the team from deploying content. So many brands we speak to, they're big. They're doing 8 figures or more. And they're like, yeah, our team can't change the banner on the homepage. That's still happening, right? So when someone tells me AI is going to replace everything, I think we're a little further away than what everyone's saying, because we still have merchants who can't change a banner on their homepage, even though Shopify exists, because they've duct taped together so much of their tech stack. It's gone through so many changes that they can't use the content management system effectively within Shopify, or it's going to break something. They don't know how to deploy it. So getting to stabilization is really important. And we're working on a few of those right now, as to making sure that it's a stable product or it's completely redeveloped. And once we get into a good motion there, then we'll start to introduce things like personalization and A/B testing. I think one thing that I would press on that a lot of brands aren't doing is they're not testing enough. Some of the higher growth brands, bigger brands that have been around for a while, they know that they have to always be running tests, and a lot of them. I think a lot of the brands that might be sub 100 million, or sub 50 million, they're so focused on net new that they're not really pushing to test and personalize the site more, because that's where you're going to get real attribution. You're going to see what is driving the needle. And between whether you're running 6 or 20 or 30 tests per month or something, you need to bring those numbers up to get as much data as possible.
Last week, I interviewed Drew from IntelliGems, and this was like the core thrust of the whole conversation, is like where to test, how to build in that like motion, that energy. And again, tool agnostic, just like the spirit of we are a testing culture, we're learning. I actually wanted to pull on the thread quickly. Like, you guys have really been ramping up your retention efforts as well. I assume that is because you've seen like, cool, we did a really good job of converting somebody to an email or even buy a purchase, but then our brands are struggling kind of downstream and really increasing LTV. Is that a fair assumption? Is that what kind of pulled you guys in that place? And how do you think about the retention world?
Yeah. So, I mean, most of what we do are like larger migrations to Shopify, redesigns, conversion rate optimization, but retention is always going to be a part of that. If you're not, you can't really say that you're working on conversions and customer experience and everything on Shopify and not like dabble in retention. So retention is something that's always going to be important. With the way that, especially since we don't focus on net new, like acquiring customers, with the cost of acquiring new customers going up and up, retention is really important to be able to invest in, and making sure that you're increasing customer lifetime value. And it's gotten so sophisticated over the years that you could do so much more with segmentation, with personalization, all of these different segments that you could put customers in, whether it's creating subdomains so that they go into the proper folders and obsessing over email deliverability, or making sure that like your SMS and email campaigns are really aligned so you're hitting the customer at the right time. It gets very interesting, and there's so much that you could do there and so much impact that you could have for the merchant that it just makes so much sense to continue to double down on that.
Okay. Thank you. I think to kind of wrap up, I'd love to get your take on a little bit about what's coming next, right? And like what's happening in the ecosystem. So obviously, like, you've heard about AI, we've kind of been talking about it. What are like some of the problems that you're hoping or that you're excited to see solved coming up? And what are some of the like changes in consumer behavior that you've been observing or you're thinking about, or, you don't know where the world's going, but you're paying most attention to?
I mean, there's so much there that it's hard to cut through all of the stuff that is either noise or what's real and what's not. So I'll just kind of riff on that a little bit. Agentic commerce, if you went to NRF, it was literally on like everyone's booth. Agentic was everything. Clearly, there's something there. When it comes to agents shopping for customers, that's something that's really interesting to me because I don't know what the human adoption is going to look like. Will people want agents to shop for them? And I think that most of the big SaaS companies say yes. A lot of them do. Well, that's where they're putting some of their bets on, is that will we need to optimize the customer experience for an agent rather than a human? That could be on the SaaS side too, right? Because if we say that agents are going to be doing all of these things, then are we designing the user experience and the data layer and the technology for humans, or are we designing it for agents? And what do the agents like the most? And I think that's going to be on the SaaS side, right? That's on like Shopify side, on the back end, what an agent could read and do. That's very interesting. However, I think we're quite a while away because if we look at like past technology, things like the internet, which should have been the no-brainer thing, was around for quite a while before it became like mass adoption, before everyone had a computer in their home. Even the iPhone or the tablet, for example. Tablets were around before the iPad. Apple, I think, even did one. IBM had one. It didn't take off until the iPhone came out and people got used to touch and had an ecosystem of apps, and the software and the technology and human adoption had to really all come together. I think the same is going to be true with AI. Do I think that in the next 6 to 12 months that we're going to have agents shopping for us all the time? I think some of the ones on the fringes, on the edges will. There's already people using things like Claude to do a lot of things for them. But I think we're a lot further out than that for humans to say, yeah, I'm just going to have this agent to shop for me. But I do see it being really interesting, right? I see it really interesting, especially since a lot of the technology companies are pushing for it so much. Again, also with like the discoverability with AI, I think that's really interesting, and what Shopify is doing there and their collaboration with like Google and OpenAI to allow for, when you're searching Google or Gemini and ChatGPT and you get these results and you could check out right there. I think that's very interesting on the discoverability aspect, but also for the end user, it's not really changing their experience as much. So like when we look at like, if you search Google, whether it's an AI result or it's the sponsored results at the top, that's still a same experience for the end user. They don't really know that's being just like given to them via AI. They're not like, oh, this is AI, right? It's still a result. So they're going to interact with it the same way. And, it's good for the merchants because they're getting more discoverability. That's a lot more in tune with what the customer is looking for. So I don't think it changes. Certain things don't change so much for the consumer because they're so far away from AI. They don't know what's powering it. So I think we live in like this little world where we're like, oh yeah, agentic commerce and X, Y, and Z is going to take over immediately. But then we actually have the consumers out there that may not be interacting with the same way that we think they will. So I think whatever's happening now is the end result that no one knows yet is what it really is going to look like. And I think we're a way off before finding out how customers are actually going to interact with it.
Going back to the framing that you had before about, look, there might be 5,000 new things, but like Avex's job is to help you figure out what to action now. If I'm coming to you as a customer of yours and I'm literally spitting back exactly what you just said to me, are there any things that you think I should be doing now? Or is it like, hey guys, just keep building a great product and a great journey, get the house in order and we'll be ready at the time? Or should I be thinking about GEO, AEO? Should I be thinking about
both? You should be doing that. You should be focusing on building a great product. You should be not taking your eyes off of the plan that you put in place 2 years ago to grow the brand and what works. You should be focusing on marketing and retention and all of those table stakes, things that you have to do. But you definitely should be looking at AEO and figuring out how am I going to make sure that I'm set up for success. That's having clean data. That's focusing on structured content. That's, if you were focusing on really solid SEO, not like gray or black hat SEO, really solid SEO, And you're going to be set up for success for appearing in AI search results too. Yes, you should be signing up to learn more about the things that Shopify and OpenAI and Google are putting out. That has to be on your radar. Should it be your obsession? Probably not, because you're not going to see a huge ROI from that right now. There's other AI like adjacent things that people are doing, and I think it was like last year one brand turned all of their product imagery into video. I think that's cool, but I don't see that happening at scale. You could do it with AI tomorrow. You could take all your photos of your models, put it in, and then turn them into like videos when you hover over of like a moving model. That's cool, but is it one worth the time, worth the bandwidth? Is it showing an ROI? Maybe you do a low effort A/B test on something like that. But I'm a big fan of like, hey, if you're working with some really great SaaS partners and an agency, like let them use the technology while you focus on the brand. I don't think it's good for brands to switch to becoming technology companies, because that's where a lot of brands kind of got bit years ago when we had all of these brands come out, these D2C brands that were funded, and they built headless everything because they had to have this crazy experience. All of those brands, or most of them, have now migrated to Shopify, not headless. And they're trying to decouple and detangle becoming a tech company. A brand of like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million, whatever, should not be focused on being a tech company. They should be focused on building a great brand. Yeah, you could eventually build that internally if you don't want to use an agency or a certain SaaS product you need custom at some point when you get to that scale. You need to get to that scale first before you should invest in it. So I think it's to our point, which we repeated a lot, it's where do you cut through the noise, focus on the signal. We're trying to help a lot of brands do that.
I think it's very sage advice. My favorite, I actually was an early e-commerce or early-ish builder, is that Andy Dunn gave me advice that I should move to Spree Commerce. And it was like Away and Glossier and Bonobos were the only three companies on there. And I was like, and we just went with Shopify. And so, yeah, very much like don't be the technology company for the brand. I think that is extremely wise advice. All right. I've asked a lot of you. So the last thing, which you couldn't decide to share or not, is there any other takeaway or anything that you've said that you want to double click on anymore? And John, you're also allowed to just share very controversial opinions so we can get engagement. But any last words you want to share? And then obviously, where can folks find you?
Yeah. I think we covered a lot. I could be very opinionated, but I think we covered a lot. I mean, I guess the last would say is about a year and a half ago, I made a post saying that like, is headless dead? I don't think it's dead, but I said that 99.9% of brands shouldn't be on it. And we just touched on it a little bit. Now I'm seeing more and more posts about how more and more brands are abandoning headless. And I think not to say that AI is going to go the same way at all. I think it has a much bigger future, much more broad, but that's where you want to try to cut through the noise and see what just the trend is. Because I want to remind everyone that like in the past 5 years, we've seen so many cycles. We've seen headless taking over everything, and every brand should be headless. A lot of them did. A lot of them regretted it and eventually moved back to Shopify. We saw the metaverse and everything going on with NFTs and all of that becoming the future. And now it's AI. So you need to be really careful about where you're putting your dollars and where you're investing in. AI is real. It's something that should be part of your daily use right now, but it shouldn't be your complete obsession. Unless you're an employee, then yeah, you should probably focus on learning it. You should learn it as much as you possibly can and utilize it. But for like the brand operators, yeah, have your team play around with it, have your team use it where it's going to make an impact. But it doesn't need to be your obsession right now.
John, thank you. Where can folks find you in Avex?
They could find Avex at our website, avexdesigns.com, or you could text me on my cell phone. No, I'm kidding. You could reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just look for my name, John Surdakowski. It's a long name, so maybe just look for Avex. That'll be a lot easier.
All right, man. Thank you very much. This was such a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Aaron Schwartz, co-founder and co-CEO of Orita.ai. We build AI customer segmentation for some of Klaviyo's biggest brands like Oriana, Spanx, Caraway, Third Love, True Classic, Rem Beauty, and on and on. Brands come to us to help find untapped revenue, improve their click rate, drive away mean bots, and a bunch more. You can learn more or get a free customer engagement audit at Orita.ai.